Israel, all the scientific subjects, actually all the other subjects, can be taught in high school at different levels. Like in other countries, there are basic subjects which everybody has to learn. In Israel, it is Hebrew, English, mathematics, history. In Israel, also the Bible. And of course, in the Arabic-speaking school of Israel, Arabic instead of Hebrew, and Hebrew. These are the mandatory subjects. But then there are choices to be made by each student. Physics is one such choice, chemistry, biology, a variety of social science subjects, etc. Now, at any level for any topics, there are two levels that you can choose. A very advanced level, which is really second to none in the world, a very, very advanced level, and then a sort of medium level. So a student in physics can choose no physics, or medium level physics, or very advanced. HEMDA usually caters to the ones who choose the high level, but it does not select them. Namely, if the student chooses it and the school approves it, HEMDA must take them. HEMDA is not having an entrance examination or anything like that. Now, once they're in, they are taught the mandatory government curriculum because there is a government-given uniform matriculation in advanced physics. And we have to, in HEMDA, we have to teach that curriculum to the best that we can, and the grades that the children are getting in this matriculation exam all over the years were excellent. So that's achievement number one. But of course, if you study physics, no matter what you study, there are certain things around it. And we are trying to expand, we are trying to widen the scope. It depends on the taste of the teacher, it depends sometimes on initiatives of the children, it depends on all kinds of projects. Some of them participate in the International Olympiad of Physics, and some of them participate in other competition and all sorts of activities like that. But in addition, there is something else formal that we do. And this is a very interesting dilemma. In addition to studying the curriculum of the government, the matriculation curriculum, there's one other activity that HEMDA is pursuing. And it's a very original idea. There's a general problem in teaching science. Science is a subject with a hierarchy, unlike music. In order to do excellent rock music today, you don't have to be an expert about Mozart and Beethoven. In order to do physics today, no matter what you do, you have to understand Newton and Galileo and Faraday. There is no other way, because physics is built with bricks which are on top of each other. So when we start teaching physics in high school, we are teaching basically the physics of the 17th, 18th, 19th century. And this looks a little bit idiotic, because you are taking the child of the 21st century, which is surrounded by all of these gadgets and computers and tablets and smartphones, and God knows what else, and drones and all of this, and you teach him the physics of the 19th century. This looks crazy, but there's no choice, because he couldn't understand the smartphone and the drone, the physics of them, without that physics. So what we've done is we added new topics. For instance, we added an entirely new subject, which is called basically computerized science or computerized physics or something of that sort. And the idea is taking modern problems in science, which can be solved only with the help of a computer, instead of with the help of the equations of Newton and others. And this is an entire course. It's not a study group. It's not an extracurricular activity. It's an entire course which is offered to the children, and the Ministry of Education approved a special matriculation for that course. Another topic, which is a special course, is called Physics and Industry. And that actually was developed originally at the Weizmann Institute, but it's offered at HEMDA. Physics in industry is a course which is taking the physics that the children learn according to the normal curriculum, but applying them to problems of industry. And just to give you one example, if you think about the gadget that almost every car has today, the sensors that warn that the car is approaching either another car or a sidewalk or a wall, which you're using when you are parking or when you are backing up, you can give the children a project. Use all the physics that you've learned in order to design such a thing. And one child will use ultrasound, another child will invent some laser system, and third child will invent some light system. But in addition to using the physics, which is now more modern physics, they have to use mechanics because the car is moving and there's a question of velocity and distance, etc. And they also have to understand that such a system cannot be 98% safe. It has to be 100% or 99.999% safe, which is a requirement of industry, which has nothing to do with 19th century physics. So this is just an example. They are studying such problems, and this is extra offerings of HEMDA out of the box, out of the curriculum, out of the usual matriculation. But these are formal courses with examinations, with a teacher, with regular hours, and eventually can also lead to an extra matriculation exam for the student, which gets another credit to go to the university. The concept of HEMDA was invented for physics because the problems of teachers and equipment and cost were more difficult in physics. We didn't start, for instance, with biology because there were enough biology teachers in the schools of Israel. But theoretically speaking, if a similar problem develops in any other field, which requires facilities, laboratories, and equipment, the same thing could be done. There's nothing special about physics versus chemistry or chemistry versus biology, or all of them versus, let's say, if somebody offers a course on environmental science to high school kids or anything of that sort, anything that would require experiments, laboratory, technicians, high cost, and very specialized professional teachers could be adjusted to the concept of HEMDA. The problem is that you cannot take the same class of the same school and send it to 3 different HEMDAs for 3 different subjects, because then they will never be in their own school, or they will be only half time in their own school, and the school correctly will not accept it and will not like it. So therefore you have to concentrate on the specific topics which are more in an acute difficulty than on other topics. But the choice of physics is not because I happen to be a physicist or because physics is more important than other subjects, but because physics is an important subject and it had the biggest difficulty of all of them. Now, I have to add quickly that there are topics, let's say mathematics and English, which are enormously important in every country, but they would not benefit from being in a place like HEMDA because, number one, you don't need equipment. Number two, the teachers usually can deal with every problem and with every issue. An English teacher hopefully speaks fluent English, and the math teacher hopefully can tackle any problem of 9th or 10th or 11th grade mathematics, which is not so for the science teacher. And that is another aspect that has to be understood. Science is very special. It's the only subject taught in school where the teacher is not supposed to be able to answer every question of the children. And therefore, the teacher needs extra help, and that's a whole different subject that HEMDA is a little bit addressing and that we should address in the educational system. HEMDA prepares the students, the children, the graduates of HEMDA for any subject that they wish to learn later. Of course, many of them go to study engineering or science. Fewer go to medicine. agriculture. In all of these fields, you need science. But there are also graduates of HEMDA that prefer to be lawyers or accountant or architects or whatever. HEMDA is not trying to direct them and not trying in any way to influence them, except by attracting them to science and hoping that the number of science graduates will eventually increase. The universities in Israel are enjoying the incoming students that were trained in HEMDA because they're usually at a higher level. In the board of directors of HEMDA, there is quite a significant representation of the Weizmann Institute and Tel Aviv University. The chairman of the board of HEMDA, until now there were only two. Both of them were, at the time, the president of the Weizmann Institute. So the Weizmann Institute gives great importance to such projects and is actually building a copy of HEMDA on the campus of the Weizmann Institute. And I must say that I'm quite disappointed and surprised that in other countries the model of HEMDA has not yet been copied, because it is such an undoubted success that it's really worth trying. Of course, copying it in other countries must depend on the detailed curricula and the structure of studies and the matriculation system and the teacher system and so on and so forth in the other country. But I'm sure that there are enough countries in Europe, for instance, that could benefit from such an experiment.